Thousands of protesters have taken to Taiwan streets, rallying against a slew of controversial bills going through the legislature. Sally Ensign reports from Taipei.
Well, crowds are growing here with tens of thousands of protesters gathering outside Taiwan's legislature, and they've been gathering, gradually arriving all throughout the day. This is the third peaceful protest this week in response to what's been happening inside the legislature, where lawmakers have been discussing a series of controversial bills to expand the assembly's powers. Now, Taiwan's two main opposition parties, which control the legislature, say that they want to pass the bills to increase accountability and reinforce democratic checks and balances. But we spoke to some protesters here earlier who believe that the bills are being pushed through without due process and could undermine Taiwan's democracy.
这个议案在完全没有进行实质讨论，然后就这样推出去，然后现在要2读，然后就要3读，我觉得这样对台湾未来的民主法治是非常的不好的。
国民党跟民众党他如何侵犯台湾，然后如何要把立法院变成香港的立法局，那希望台湾人要警觉这件事情。
Threats to Taiwan's freedom and sovereignty are in the spotlight right now as China conducts a series of large-scale military exercises around Taiwan. And some people here are worried that conflict in the legislature, China may use this to make Taiwan vulnerable to influence.
在这个法案在被通过之前，我们应该要去审慎的考虑说，中国现在对我们的敌意的这么强，对，那他是不是有可能去利用这件事情？
Parallel protests are happening in cities around the country, and lawmakers are expected to stay at the legislature debating late into the night. And protesters here too say that they'll be here hoping to keep them in check.
That was Sally Ensign reporting from outside the legislature. Meanwhile, legislative reform protests in Taiwan have spread beyond the capital to other cities across the country. About 500 people gathered outside the Taichung train station in central Taiwan. They're protesting what they say is an opaque legislative process and say opposition parties are pushing the bills through without proper debate. And in Tainan, several protesters gathered outside the National Museum of Taiwan Literature in solidarity with protests in Taipei. The opposition Kuomintang is one of the parties proposing the reforms. The party has secured a spot for a counter-protest next to the legislative building in Taipei.